Okay, let's try and unpack this Google thing. It's kind of like this invisible hand, isn't it? Shaping so much of what we see online, what we do.
It really is. But figuring out how that hand actually works, especially with the algorithm changing all the time.
Yeah, it feels like you're always one step behind, like chasing smoke. So that's what we're going to tackle today. We're diving deep.
And the thing is, Google search isn't static. It's not some finished machine. It's always learning, always adapting to, well, everything that's happening on the web.
Exactly. And to try and get a handle on it, we've gathered quite a bit of info to really walk through the major Google algorithm updates. We're going way back to 2003, right up to, well, basically now, May 2025.
Think of it like a historical tour.
Yeah, exactly. Like your crash course in understanding the forces that kind of built the internet we use every single day and are still building it.
And, understanding these updates isn't just for SEO geeks or web developers.
No, definitely not.
Anyone who uses Google, which is pretty much everyone, can get a better feel for why certain results pop up, what Google actually values, and this constant back and forth between search engines and people trying to, well, game the system.
Right. We're going to look at the whole spectrum here. Those massive core updates, the ones that can make website traffic go haywire
Uh,
overnight.
those cause some ripples.
And also the more specific ones, the ones targeting spam or maybe product reviews, even some of the plumbing changes, the infrastructure stuff behind the scenes.
So you get the big picture and the details.
That's the plan. Our mission, basically, is to pull out the really crucial bits, the insights that matter, so you walk away feeling like, okay, I get it now, without needing a computer science degree.
So where do we even start? What were those first, baby steps Google took with these updates? What problems were they trying to solve back then?
Good question. Let's rewind. Early 2000s, the web was chaotic, a bit of a Wild West.
It's definitely less organized than today.
And Google was trying to bring some order. So our sources point to February 2003, the Boston update. That was actually the first time Google ever named an update publicly.
Announced at a conference. That feels almost quaint now.
Right. Apparently, it was mostly focused on meta information, those little code tags describing a page.
Interesting. Even back then, though, they weren't super transparent about the exact mechanics, were they? Announcing it is one thing, but the nitty-gritty details.
Yeah, a bit opaque. Then, just a few months later, July 2003, we got the Fritz update. Now, this was a different approach.
Oh, so.
Instead of these big, chunky updates happening every so often, Fritz brought in daily, smaller, more subtle tweaks. And that basically killed off the old Google dance.
Ah, the Google dance. I remember that. Rankings would just go crazy for days after an update while everything settled.
Exactly. As all their computers caught up, Fritz made it more of a continuous rolling update process, smoother.
That makes sense. Those incremental changes probably made the index way more stable, more adaptable, without those huge, jarring shifts all the time.
But, the peace didn't last too long. November 2003 rolls around, and bam, the Florida update. This was a big one.
Right, Florida really went after the dodgy SEO stuff, didn't it?
Totally. Things like keyword stuffing, just jamming pages full of the same word over and over, and really spammy, low-quality links. Florida definitely made the SEO world sit up and take notice.
Is Google basically saying, okay, folks, playtime's over, stop trying to cheat the system. They wanted sites with actual value. It caused quite a stir.
Then jump forward a bit to January 2005. We see something interesting. Collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
The no-follow attribute.
Oh, yeah, that was Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft working together.
Right. Trying to tackle comment spam. It was getting bad back then. No-follow gave site owners a way to link out without necessarily passing on, link juice or ranking power, like saying, I'm pointing here, but I'm not vouching for it for ranking purposes.
No follow was pretty crucial for discouraging spammers. If the link didn't help their rankings much, why bother leaving spam comments everywhere? Made sense.
Then came a really broad one, the Jagger update. Started October 2005, but it rolled out in phases over several months.
Jagger tackled a whole bunch of things, right?
Yeah, it hit duplicate content, same text on multiple pages, plus unnatural links, and those awful doorway pages. The ones built just to trick search engines.
Ugh, doorway pages. Terrible user experience.
Exactly. The fact that Jagger was multi-phase suggests it was pretty complex, hitting different spam techniques sequentially or maybe simultaneously across different parts of the system.
It felt like a real escalation in the fight against low-quality sites. They were getting more sophisticated in how they tackled spam.
Okay, fast forward to May 2007, a really visible change for users, universal search.
Ah, this is where the search results page started looking very different.
Totally. Suddenly, it wasn't just 10 blue links. You started seeing news results, videos, images, local business info, all mixed together on the main page.
It transformed the SRP, the search engine results page. Much richer. You could find different types of information for a single search.
Then, January 2009 brought the Vince update. This one stirred up some debate.
Because it seemed to favor big brands.
Yeah, established brands and sites with more authority seemed to get a boost. People worried smaller sites would lose out. Google's official line was about rewarding authority, relevance, trustworthiness, basically, the sites users probably expect to see for certain queries.
Vince really highlighted how brand signals and site authority were becoming more important ranking factors. Understandable logic, focusing on trust, but you can see why smaller players were concerned.
And let's wrap up this early period with the caffeine update in August 2009. Now, this one was different.
Infrastructure, right, not directly ranking.
Exactly. It wasn't about which site ranked higher, but about the engine underneath. Caffeine massively improved how fast Google could crawl the web and index new content. The result? A much fresher index, more up-to-date results.
Like upgrading the whole system's processing speed.
Yeah.
Super important for keeping search results current.
Absolutely. It basically laid the groundwork for a faster-moving web and faster-reacting search results. Okay, so that sets the stage. Now we head into the early 2010s, and anyone involved with websites back then probably remembers this era vividly.
Yes. Panda and Penguin.
The era of Panda and Penguin. A real crackdown, wasn't it? Focus shifting hard towards content quality and fighting spammy links. Felt like Google was laying down the law.
Definitely an escalation. Google got much more direct in targeting specific types of manipulation, both on-page content and off-page links.
It kicked off around May 2010 with the slightly scary-sounding Mayday update.
Mayday targeted thin content, I recall, especially for long-tail keywords.
Exactly. Those really specific, less common search terms. If you had loads of pages with barely any useful info, just trying to catch that niche traffic, Mayday probably hurt.
It showed that even for obscure searches, Google wanted substance. Not just pages built to rank, but pages built to help.
Then came the big one, Panda, February 2011 onwards. And boy, did Panda stick around.
Panda was all about content quality, right?
Yeah.
Going after content farms.
Precisely. Those sites churning out tons and tons of low-quality stuff, often scraped or slightly rewritten, usually just packed with ads. The first hit, sometimes called the Farmer update, supposedly affected something like 12% of U.S. search results. Huge.
And it wasn't a one-off. Panda kept getting refreshed.
Right, there were numbered updates. Panda 2.0 went global. It was ongoing. If Panda hit your site, recovery wasn't always quick or easy. You had to fundamentally improve your content.
It was a massive signal from Google. Prioritize original, valuable content for your users, not just content engineered for search engines. The constant updates forced websites to keep focusing on quality.
Then in November 2011, we got the freshness update. Pretty self-explanatory.
Leaving a boost to newer content for searches where timeliness matters.
Yep. Breaking news, recurring events, things like that. Made sense. You want the latest info for certain queries.
Absolutely. Recency became a more significant factor for those time-sensitive searches.
Google also started looking at the user experience more directly on the page itself. January 2012, the ads above the fold update. Nicknamed Top Heavy.
Penalizing sites with just way too many ads right at the top, before you even saw the content.
Exactly. If the first thing a user saw was a wall of ads, that wasn't a great experience. They did a similar, smaller update later, too. It was about putting the user first.
Made sense. Discouraging sites that clearly prioritized ad dollars over actually helping the visitor.
But the other giant of this era, alongside Panda, was Penguin, landed in April 2012.
Penguin was the link spam update.
Yep. All about manipulative link building. Buying links in bulk, using those shady link farm networks, stuffing keywords into the anchor text of links. Penguin went after all of that.
And it hit hard too, didn't it? Something like 3% of English queries initially.
Yeah, significant impact. And like Panda, Penguin wasn't a one-and-done thing. There were data refreshes, like Penguin 1.1, keeping the pressure on. If you've been playing fast and loose with links, Penguin was bad news.
Penguin really forced website owners to think about earning links naturally through good content and real relationships, rather than just manufacturing them artificially.
Okay, one more from this intense period. September 2012, the exact match domain, EMD, update.
Right. Targeting domains that were just keywords strung together like bestplumberNewYorkCity.com.
Exactly. If you had a domain like that, but the website itself was thin or low quality, this update knocked you down. Just having the keyword domain wasn't a free pass anymore.
You actually needed a decent site behind it.
Right. Although, interestingly, reports suggested sites could recover if they genuinely improved their content. It wasn't a permanent penalty if you fixed the problem.
So again, reinforcing that content and user value trumped domain name tricks.
Okay, so Panda and Penguin really hammered home the rules about quality content and clean links. Where did Google go next, sort of mid-decade? Seems like things got smarter.
That's a good way to put it. From around 2013 to 2016, the focus definitely shifted towards understanding intent, what people really mean when they search, plus adapting to the mobile revolution and bringing in some serious machine learning.
And the cornerstone of that shift was Hummingbird, wasn't it? August, September 2013.
Absolutely. Hummingbird wasn't just another tweak. It was described as a fundamental rewrite of the core algorithm, the biggest change since way back in 2001.
Wow. And it was about semantics, understanding meaning.
Exactly. Moving beyond just matching keywords in a query to understanding the relationships between words, the context, the concept the user was asking about. Think conversational search. It affected something like 90% of searches globally. Massive.
So Google got much better at understanding natural language questions, not just keyword lists.
Precisely. A foundational shift towards semantic search.
And around this time, smartphones were everywhere, so logically,
Google had to address mobile. April 2015 brought the mobile-friendly update, famously nicknamed Mobile-Ageddon.
right. If your website wasn't easy to use on a phone, suddenly you'd rank lower in mobile search results. Huge incentive to get mobile-friendly fast.
It was a tipping point. Mobile search was exploding, and Google made it clear. Serve mobile users well, or lose visibility on mobile. It basically forced the web to adapt.
Then, in October 2015, another huge step. RankBrain.
Enter the AI.
Yeah, this is Google confirming they were using machine learning right within the core ranking algorithm. RankBrain helped Google interpret ambiguous or novel search queries, the ones it hadn't seen before.
And it learned, right, based on user interaction.
Exactly. It looked at which results users seemed satisfied with for those tricky queries and adjusted rankings accordingly. The algorithm started teaching itself in a way.
RankBrain was a major leap in using AI to handle the sheer complexity and ambiguity of human language at scale. It made the algorithm much more sophisticated.
And they weren't done with mobile. May 2016, the mobile-friendly 2 update.
Doubling down, basically. Strengthening the signal.
Yep, making that mobile friendliness factor even more important. If you still hadn't adapted after Mobilegeddon, this was another big nudge.
Reinforce the message. The future of the web was mobile, and Google's results would reflect that.
Okay, so by 2017, Google's got semantic understanding, AI learning, mobile focus. The system's getting pretty advanced, but of course it didn't stop there. What defined the next phase, say 2017 to 2023?
Well, we saw a continued focus on spam, definitely, but also more specific updates targeting things like product reviews, plus those regular broad core updates became, well, routine, and a continued emphasis on site quality and user experience.
Right. March 2017, we had the Fred update. That was an unofficial name, wasn't it?
Yeah, coined by the SEO community. Google didn't confirm much, but the consensus was that Fred targeted sites with low-quality content, often thin, and usually heavy on ads or affiliate links. Basically, sites prioritizing monetization over user value.
Another variation on the quality theme, then.
Pretty much. A reminder that just because Panda and Penguin were established didn't mean Google was done refining quality signals.
Also, in early 2017 January, something focused on user annoyance. The intrusive interstitials penalty.
Yes, the pop-up penalty,
Yes.
specifically on mobile.
Right. Those aggressive ads that cover the whole screen or pop up unexpectedly, making it hard to actually see the content. Google started penalizing sites that use those too heavily on mobile.
Directly targeting a negative user experience element.
Made sense. Then August 2018 brought a core update that got a specific nickname, the Medic update.
Because it seemed to hit health and wellness sites particularly hard.
Exactly. And financial sites, too. This update really shone a spotlight on EAT. Expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness, especially for your money or your life topics, YMYL.
For subjects where bad information could have serious consequences, Google doubled down on needing proof of expertise and reliability. Who wrote this content? Is this site a trusted source? Those questions became even more critical.
Made perfect sense for sensitive topics. Then, October 2019, another big leap in language understanding, BERT.
Bidirectional encoder representations from transformers. Quite a mouthful.
Huh, yeah. But essentially, it was another major advance using neural networks to understand the nuances and context of words within a search query much better than before. It helped Google grasp the intent behind searches even more accurately.
BERT looked at how words related to each other in the whole query, not just in sequence. Huge for understanding prepositions like to or for that can totally change the meaning. Rolled out in English first, then other languages.
And throughout this whole period, 2017 to 2023, we just kept seeing core updates regularly.
Yeah, they became a standard feature. Every few months, it seemed, Google would announce a broad core update was rolling out.
Aimed at improving overall relevance and quality,
Right.
but often causing significant ranking shifts.
Exactly. They weren't targeting one specific thing, usually, but represented broader refinements to how Google weighs hundreds of ranking factors. We saw them consistently through 2020, 21, 22, 23. They became the new normal for ranking volatility.
We also saw Google get really specific about product reviews updates multiple times.
Yeah, starting around 2021, I think. They really wanted to reward reviews that were obviously based on real experience, offered unique insights, went beyond just summarizing specs.
In-depth, expert, authentic reviews. And later they expanded that focus, didn't they?
They did. The principles started applying more broadly reviews of businesses, destinations, services, even media like movies or games. They wanted genuinely helpful first-hand assessment.
And alongside that, the helpful content updates in 2022 and 2023. The name says it all, really.
Pretty much. Explicitly designed to reward content created for humans, to actually help or inform them, and devalue content that felt like it was primarily written just to rank well in search engines.
That SEO-first content, sometimes thin, often unsatisfying for a real user.
Exactly. It was a site-wide signal, meaning if a site had a lot of unhelpful content, it could potentially impact the ranking of its helpful content too.
And all the while, the cat and mouse game with spam continued. Frequent spam updates targeting link schemes, scraped content, cloaking, all the usual suspects.
That fight never ends. As spammers get cleverer, Google has to keep updating its defenses. It's a constant arms race.
Okay, that brings us pretty much up to date. The last year or so, 2024 into early 2025, feels like the intensity has ramped up again, particularly around core systems and spam.
Agreed. The recent updates seem particularly focused, maybe even more aggressive, in tackling unhelpful content and evolving spam tactics.
Let's look at the March 2024 core update. That one felt pretty major.
It was described as significant, yeah. The stated goal was promoting truly helpful content while demoting stuff made just for clicks, and the impact seemed pretty severe for some sites.
We heard about big ranking drops, even sites getting de-indexed completely, and there was that originality AI study linking some negative impacts to AI-generated content.
Right. That update suggested Google was applying its quality standards more rigorously and wasn't afraid to take strong action. The AI content angle is definitely something the industry is watching closely.
And almost simultaneously, March 2024 also had a big spam update.
Yep. Hitting several specific tactics. Expired domain abuse, buying old domains and filling them with junk.
Scaled content abuse, churning out massive amounts of low-quality content, whether by AI or humans, just to manipulate rankings.
And site reputation abuse, basically. Reputable sites renting out subdomains or sections to third parties who then post spammy links or content. Google put a deadline on that last one, May 2024.
They seem to be closing loopholes?
Trying to, yes. It shows a more comprehensive approach to different spam vectors.
Then came the August 2024 core update. What was the focus there?
More refinement on helpfulness, rewarding genuinely useful content, including from smaller sites or sites that had demonstrably improved, and continuing to devalue content that looked like it was just made for search engines.
And John Mueller from Google mentioned something about recovery times.
Yeah, he suggested that sites hit by previous helpful content updates might find recovery takes longer, implying those signals are quite sticky.
Okay. Then things got busy at the end of 2024. Two core updates close together, November 2024 and December 2024.
Right. The November one didn't have a super specific target announced. Seemed like a continuation of August's themes. Although they did release more FAQs about the site reputation abuse policy around then, and some manual actions related to that caused a bit of volatility.
And the December one followed so quickly.
Google said it was because they were improving different core systems, which suggests maybe we'll see more frequent core updates if they're iterating on separate parts of the algorithm independently.
Interesting. Faster iteration. And that leads us to the most recent one we have info on, March 2025 core update.
Yeah, this one definitely caused some chatter. Big volatility spikes on both desktop and mobile results.
Confused people initially.
A little, yeah. But Google confirmed it was a core update. Said it rolled out over about 30 days with distinct periods of higher volatility within that time frame.
So even when confirmed, the exact why behind the ripples isn't always immediately obvious.
Exactly. It's a complex system constantly being tuned.
Phew. Okay. That is quite a journey. From Boston in 2003 focusing on meta tags to these complex AI-driven core updates and spam crackdowns today.
It really is decades of evolution.
So if we zoom out from all those specific updates, what are the big recurring themes, the key takeaways from this whole history?
I think a few things really stand out. First, obviously, is that relentless focus on content quality.
Yeah.
Rewarding stuff that's helpful, user-centric, high quality. That's the constant thread.
Definitely.
Second, the never-ending war on spam. Google is always fighting manipulation, always trying to clean up the results.
Sure.
Third, user experience. Increasingly important. Mobile friendliness, page speed, avoiding annoying ads. Google wants users to have a good experience on the sites it ranks.
Makes sense. What else?
The move towards understanding meaning. Semantic search, hummingbird, bird, rank brain. It's not just about keywords anymore. It's about intent.
Right, getting smarter.
And finally, maybe, the trend towards more frequent, sometimes overlapping updates. You can't just wait for the next big named update anymore. The algorithm is constantly shifting. Staying informed generally is key.
Absolutely. It's a staggering amount to keep track of, isn't it? But hopefully going through it like this gives you, the listener, a much clearer picture of how we got here, how the Google algorithm evolved.
It really underscores that the internet isn't static. The rules for finding information are always being refined.
And maybe the biggest takeaway isn't about memorizing update names, but about the underlying principles.
Exactly. If you consistently focus on creating great, valuable content for your audience, on making your site user-friendly and trustworthy, you're generally aligning yourself with what Google has been striving for all along.
Yeah, that seems like the most sustainable approach. Which brings us to a final thought to leave you with. Thinking about this whole history, the move to semantics, AI, user experience, the fight against spam. What's next? What could be the next big fundamental shift in how search engines figure out what's relevant and trustworthy in the years ahead? What new tech or user behaviors or Google priorities might reshape search again?
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely something to think about.
It is indeed. Well, thanks for diving deep into the Google archives with us today.